Welcome to my PowerPoint about the best legendaries in each class. So, Death Knight is again kind of awkward for a lot of my videos because of the fact that they have the rune system. You can't really compare a lot of Death Knight legendaries because, well, they can't be really ran in every deck. Except for the Primus. The Primus is obviously, like, one of the best Death Knight legendaries. It's already seen play its entire lifespan standard. It sees play in Wild and even Death Knight. It would see play if there were any, like, other playable Death Knight deck in Wild. But it's just such a powerful card. It's an 8 mana 7/9 with Titan, with after this use an ability, discover a card with that rune. So it has Frost, Blood, and Unholy. The Unholy one is to summon 2 3/3s with Taunt and Reborn. The Blood one is to destroy an enemy minion and give it and give the Primus and your hero its health. And then the Frost one is your next spell costs 3 less, gain +3 spell damage. And all of those options are actually pretty good. Typically, you're playing the Primus to play the Blood one, though. Like, almost always, you're playing it for the Blood one, then for the Unholy one. Like, in that order. But if you need, like, a certain Frost card, or if you need the Primus to, like, well, kill your opponent, it's really good at doing that. Because the Primus gives spell damage, you can have, like, Corpsicle, which is a really strong card that came out in Heralds in Paradise. It's 2 mana, deal 3 damage. If you spend 3 corpses to add it back to your hand at the end of your turn. You could play Primus Corpsicle, and then it's free, and then it gets +6 spell damage to kill your opponent. It doesn't happen all the time, don't get me wrong, but it is something definitely you can do. I think that, like, Death Knight... Again, Death Knight and Demon Hunter don't have enough legendaries that it's, like, really interesting to talk about, like, all the different kind of cards, don't get me wrong. But Exarch Maladar, I think this card's gonna be crazy. Like, honorable mention, HB, it's supposed to be HM, whatever. Honorable mention to Exarch Maladar. It's a 6 mana 5/5 Draenei battlecry. The next card you play this turn costs corpses instead of mana, and it's 1 Unholy Rune. I mean, this card's just... There's no way this card is not going to be broken at some point in Hearthstone. I mean, it already looks pretty good in, like, a Reno Death Knight, right? Playing, like, Climatic Necrotic Explosion, playing Reno Lone Ranger, and being able to cheat those out a lot earlier. It seems pretty decent in that, but I don't know. It's definitely the Primus is by far the best Titan, or the Death Knight legendary. I feel like that's not too crazy of, like, a claim to make. I really don't. I mean, it's the only, like, really good Death Knight legendary with no runes as well. It just seems like it's such an obvious choice. Demon Hunter is also really interesting because although Demon Hunter is a newer class and there aren't that many legendaries, it's still pretty obvious what the best ones are. In Wild, at least, which, I mean, this is what this video is about, because I'm not doing cards historically because, well, that changes what it is by a lot, and it's not really that interesting because a lot of these cards have been nerfed. Anyway, in Wild right now, there's kind of only 2 playable Death Knight decks. Questline Demon Hunter and Pirate Demon Hunter. And both of them run Patches the Pilot. I probably should have added Patches the Pilot to my best cards video when I was talking about Demon Hunter. I don't know, I didn't really think it made sense because I wanted to talk about it in this video because I made them, like, simultaneously, so I was like, whatever, I'll do it for here. Patch of the Pilot is a 1 mana 1/1 Demon Pirate with Battlecry. Shuffle 6 parachutes into your deck. Summon a 1/1 Pirate with charge when drawn. So not only is it obviously really strong with pirates, right, because you're getting a bunch of 1/1 charge pirates that can go face, but with Final Showdown is the quest, 1 mana quest line, draw 4 cards in 1 turn, reduce the cost of cards drawn by 1. Then it's 5 cards in 1 turn, reduce the cost drawn by 1. Then 5 cards again to get Kurtrus. I don't even remember what he's called. He's the 5 mana 7/7 Kurtrus battlecry. Cards you draw for the rest of the game cost 2 less. So Patch of the Pilot is really good because the parachutes count as a card drawn. So it really helps to advance the quest and, well, fight for board. Patch of the Pilot's probably the best legendary in Demon Hunter right now, but you still have to talk about Final Showdown and Kurtrus Demon Render. Kurtrus Demon Render is, of course, the Alterac Valley hero card, 6 mana, 5 armor, battlecry, summon 2 1/4 demons with rush, improved by your hero attacks this game. So if you've attacked like 3 times, there'll be 4/4s. Then your hero power is 1 mana, gain to attack, refresh every time a friendly minion attacks. So you'll just have, like, crazy pop-off turns, right? You'll have, like, a bunch of chargers from your Sigil of Skydiving, or from Patches, or from your location. They keep attacking, and then Kurtrus gives you a crazy amount of attack, and you just bash your opponent in the face for a lot of damage. Final Showdown and Demon Hunter Kurtrus obviously only go in 1 deck, so it is a bit awkward, right? They only go in Questline, they only go in Pirate Demon Hunter, but they're still really strong. They're still like some of the best cards in the deck. I mean, obviously the quest line is the best card in Questline Demon Hunter, but Patch of the Pilot is just disgusting. It really does bridge the gap between these two decks, and it's the absolute perfect card for this kind of video. If we want to do like semantic and be annoying, the best Druid Legendary is Guff. It just is. Like, it just is Guff. Nothing else really comes close. I'm gonna be honest with you. But let's talk about some other Druid Legendaries. So Aviana and ENR has been like a really strong combo in Druid since ENR has come out. Sorry. Aviana was reverted in Caverns of Time, which means that ENR, the Lifebinder, had already come out, which meant that Kun, the Forgotten King, is no longer a playable card. Aviana is a 9-mana 5/5, your minions cost 1. ENR, the Lifebinder, is a 10-mana Titan. After this using ability, summon a 5/5 Ancient with Taunt. It's a 5/7. And then it has the ability is refresh your mana, restore your hero to full health, and then draw cards until your hand is empty. It might be draw spells until your hand is empty, but I think it's draw cards. So the idea is that you play Aviana, ENR for 10 mana, then you refresh, and then you have 10 mana, and your minions cost 1 on board, so you can do whatever you want. You'd play Bran and Astalor. You can play, like, Malagos combo with, like, Dungar. I'm really upset that Dungar is playable now because Distributor got nerfed. I'm really upset about that. Anyway, these cards are just will forever be staples in Druid, like Druid combos, slow Druid combos. They love Aviana, ENR. They're easy to tutor because of, what's the card? Juicy Psych Melon, so you can get them out of your deck really easily. That's what Dorian would do, is you play Juicy Psych Melon to get these, and they would cost 1, and that was really gross. It's just really powerful. I think Mista Vista is worthwhile talking about as a powerful Druid Legendary. It's 5-mana 5/5, Mage Tourist, Battlecry in 3 turns, replay every spell you've cast between now and then. Not only does it actually have a pretty good effect, right? 5-mana 5/5 Battlecry, like replay Sleep Under the Stars is really good, or Sleep Beneath the Stars. It's a 7-mana spell, choose thrice, draw 2 cards, gain 8 or 5. I don't remember the armor now. Gain an amount of armor. I think it's 5. And then refresh 3 mana crystals. So if you play that, then Mista Vista will replay it, and that's just ultra value. That's an insane amount of value. That alone makes Mista Vista pretty decent. But the main reason Mista Vista is really good is spell damage Druid. You can get Seabreeze Chalice. You can get Burn Down. You can get Rising Waves. You used to get Go With the Flow when Concierge was still like a good card before Concierge got nerfed, and like Mista Vista is just so powerful in this spell damage Druid. I like spell damage Druid is already one of the best decks in the entire game, and that alone puts Mista Vista like in contention for this slot. But yeah, I didn't really talk much about Guff, but like if you've played Hearthstone in the last like 2 years, you know about Wildheart Guff. 5 mana, hero card, gain 5 armor, Battlecry, set your maximum mana to 20, gain an empty mana crystal, draw a card, then your hero power is choose 1, gain an empty mana crystal, or draw a card for 2 mana. It's just so powerful. It ramps you so hard because you can guaranteed get a mana crystal every single turn, so you can ramp. It draws you cards in the late game. It heals you for a little bit. This card has been nerfed, by the way. It used to give you full mana crystals on your hero power and when you played Guff, which was absolutely disgusting. There's like very few cases where playing Guff on turn 4 with the coin isn't the right option, or 4 mana with the coin isn't the right option. Very few cases where that is the case. It's just such an unbelievably powerful card. And like, yeah, if I wanted to be boring, I would just say Guff is the best Druid card and nothing else comes close, which is technically real, but I want to talk about these other cards. Just, I like talking about them. I like talking about like engine legendaries, where it's like cards that, you know, provide the engine for the deck. Mista Vista provides the part of the engine for spell damage Druid, right? You need the Mage cards. Aviana ENR is the OTK engine for Druid. It's interesting to me. Personally, I like it a lot.
Exarch Niall.
Yeah, okay, so Hunter, look, I could have talked about like historically powerful legendaries like DK Rexar when it was like the best legendary in Standard. I could talk about Dreadscale plus Serpent Bloom. I could talk about the Tavish hero card being like one of, if not the best card in Hunter for years. I could talk about King Crush being one of the best beasts in Hunter, like especially when you had Faithful Companion Standard. I could talk about any single Hunter legendary. I could talk about Felder and the Lost making hand buff like really good in Hunter, right? All of them pale in comparison to Exarch Nail. I don't even know how it's pronounced. The 3-mana 3/4 Draenei, Battlecry, replace your hero power with Tracking. Discover a card from your deck, 1 mana. So the thing about Hunter, right, is for the last 10 years, Hunter has had the worst card draw in the entire game. That has been a constant that has always happened. Hunter has the worst card draw in the game. What if we just decided that Hunter has a better Warlock hero power? That's what happened. That's what happens with Nayeli. Your hero power is an upgraded version of the Warlock hero power. It's cheaper. It discovers, which is already good, and it now discounts your cards and gives you copies, and it's 1 mana. And it doesn't hurt you, I guess. I think I might have said 1 mana twice, I'm gonna be honest with you. This card is just unbelievably powerful. I think that, like, this is, like, objectively the best Hunter Legendary ever. I think that, like, there are not many cards that even come close in comparison, especially not in the last few years, right? This card is just unbelievable. Like, truly, this card, what do I say? You have Rangari Scout, which is the 1 mana 1/2 Draenei, which is whenever you discover a card, get a copy. So now your hero power just gets you copies of cards, which is incredible. One of the biggest issue Hunter has always had is it doesn't have card draw and it doesn't have that great of value. What if we just
Fix that entirely.
That's what this expansion did, and that's what this legendary does. I don't think there are words to describe how unbelievably happy I am that Exarch Nayeli, I don't know, how happy I am this card exists for Wild, because Wild Hunter could really not play the game. It just couldn't. It got outvalued by every deck. It didn't have enough card draw to do a lot of combos. And, like, yeah, you had Lion Hunter, which was really strong, but Lion Hunter's value falls down significantly in really slow metas where the Lions can't do things and they can't just continually build boards and destroy your opponent's minions. So, like, yes, the deck is good, but it just gets worse and worse as time goes on as people, you know, play greedier because you can in this meta. However, Exarch Nayeli allows Hunter to play really greedy, and like the Hunter Starship, like when the Hunter Starship was like announced, a lot of people were really sleeping on it. But I saw like Sidisi, I was watching like Sidisi, Zeddy, Martian Boo, Engine, This Week in Hearthstone, and then I watched one other person during the theory crafting yesterday. Oh, I don't remember who it was. Anyway, so that's what I was watching yesterday, right? And Sidisi was playing Starship Hunter, and he was just like dealing like 60 damage to his opponent on turn 9. He was just like doing a crazy amount of damage to his opponent on turn 9, and it's like, wow. So you're telling me that I can do that and play a value Hunter and in Wild, so I can have Renathal, so when people are playing super slow decks, you're telling me that Hunter has its first ever like real slow like win condition? Yeah.
And guess what card super supports that? Guess what card draws you those pieces faster? Guess what card gives you more copies of the pieces to make your combo stronger? I wonder what.
Yeah, sorry for doing that to my mic. I don't know. Dude, this card's just so powerful. I'm sorry. It's just such a good card. Then we have Mage. So Mage is like actually really hard to talk about for this video because a lot of Mage cards have been nerfed recently. The quest got nerfed. Apprentice got nerfed, stuff like that. But cards that were good when the quest was still strong are still really good. And those are cards like Grand Magister Rawmath, which is a 9 mana 5/7, recast every spell you've cast this game that didn't start in your deck. Commander Savara, 4 mana 3/5 Naga, Battlecry, if you've cast 3 spells while holding this, add those spells to your hand. And Magister Dawngrasp, 7 mana hero card, gain 5 armor, Battlecry, recast a spell from each school you've cast this game. Hero power is 2 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion over or honorable kill, deal gain +2 attack, I think is what it is. I might be wrong on that. I don't remember. I haven't played Magic Stronger Opposite a little while. Anyway, these cards were really good when the quest was still in the game, right? Because, well, Rawmath would repeat the quest, Savara would give you more cards to benefit the quest, Dawngrasp would repeat the quest, or it would repeat ice blocks, stuff like that, right? But people just realized that, like, I mean, it is because of Skyla as well, Skyla, the Rogue Taurus, that you can just like play a bunch of free spells and play a billion ways to generate a bunch of ice blocks and play that as your deck, and then do like, I don't know, put like one spell like that's randomly generated that hits your opponent in raw math, and then you just play infinite raw maths, and you can't really lose the game, and you hold people hostage forever, slowly chipping them down, and it's really strong. So not only has raw math been like a hostage card for the last like it came out in 2022, right? So for the last 2 years, it's probably been the best legendary in Mage, aside from like the quest, I guess, right? And like Savara and Dawngrasp, they're good cards, don't get me wrong, but raw math is just so much better. Obviously, Savara and Dawngrasp, like, you need the cards to make raw math good, don't get me wrong, but raw math is just insane, right? Because these two cards weren't that good until raw math came out. Like, I still think that these three are probably the best Mage legendaries right now. Of all time, no, it still probably is the quest line, or quest in Waygate. Or maybe if you include standard, it's things like Deck of Lunacy or the quest line, right? It's probably stuff like that. But like, we're talking wild, current wild, and it's so obviously these three cards, like nothing else comes close for Mage. And it's not like these cards are that much different in power level, in my opinion. I think it's just the fact that like raw math is like this giant win condition bomb that like these two cards where they're more supportive, right? So raw math is more obviously strong than these two. However, I still think like all three of them are absolutely insane. Like Savara, you can use Savara to get like Potion of Illusion back, so raw math will always play Potion of Illusion. You can have Savara to get an Ice Block back, so raw math will always play Ice Block, or Frost Nova, or I don't even know, like Arcane Missiles, I guess, right? So raw math will cast Arcane Missiles, so it hits your opponent's face. It's just so good, these cards, right? They synergize so unbelievably well together that like it almost feels gross that they do. Like, genuinely feels kind of gross that they do. Then we have Paladin. So Paladin is a tough one. Most Paladin archetypes have been pretty unplayable due to nerfs, and like even when they were playable, again, this is a big thing that you'll see in this video, is a lot of decks don't really run that many class legendaries, especially aggro decks, right? So like when you did have like aggro paladins, yeah, they ran like maybe a couple legendaries, but like they would run like Linessa, right? The 2-mana 3/2 Linessa that gives minions that had less attack, Divine Shield and Rush, right? That was like it. That was like the only class legendary it would run, right? So it wasn't that interesting. But when we talk about decks that do run a lot of legendaries, we talk about Reno decks. And well, guess what? We're going to be talking about Reno Paladin. So Reno Paladin has like a lot of good legendaries, but some of those best ones are for sure Lightforged Cariel, 8-mana hero card, 5 armor, battlecry, deal 2 damage to all enemies, equip a 2/5 immovable object. The hero power is give a random minion in your hand +4/+4, and the immovable object is infinite durability. Your hero takes half damage from all sources. That's just such an unbelievably powerful card. It's one of the best cards in the late game for Paladin, and one of the things about Paladin is that it doesn't really have any late game win conditions, so Lightforged Cariel being there to, well, cut any damage you take in half is such a big deal for late game Paladin. Until you realize that, like, Shaman and Druid deal a lot of their damage in 1 damage instances, like Seabreeze Chalice or Astalor, and then Cariel kind of... Yeah, it's weird that Cariel is such a powerful card because it does have the damage, but it just isn't good enough because of other cards that just kind of naturally beat it. Nozdormu the Timeless is a 4-mana 8/8 dragon with Battlecry, set each player to 10 mana crystals. Oh my god, this is such a powerful card for Paladin. So Paladin plays like an incredibly top-heavy, greedy deck, right? That it can't really get to, except for the fact that it runs Nozdormu. You can tutor Nozdormu with Red Scale Dragon Tamer. It's a 2-mana 2/3 Murloc with Death Rattle, draw a dragon, so you get Nozdormu out early. And like ramping your opponent usually doesn't matter, right? If you're playing against an aggro deck, it doesn't matter at all. If you're playing against a lot of combo decks, yeah, it's probably not great, but it's not the worst. It's really not that big of a deal against Druid, because Druid technically gets the least amount of value from being ramped by you. Shaman, it's a pretty big deal, I will say, but overall, I think like you're still more happy setting yourself to 10 mana crystals than you care about setting your opponent, especially because they have to deal with your 8/8, right? If you leave that on board, it's going to hit you in the face and you might just die to it, right? If you take enough damage, because Paladin plays very tempo heavy, so... And like they have a lot of stuff, like Lightforged Cariel is dealing 2 damage to you every single turn for the rest of the game because of the weapon, so it does add up. You have Lord Barov. I've talked about this card actually a trillion times. Lord Barov is one of the most powerful cards ever printed. It's such a powerful card. It's 3-mana 3/2 Paladin. Warrior, dual class legendary, Battlecry set the health of all other minions to 1, Death Rattle set it to deal 1 damage to all minions. I know I've talked about Barov like a billion times at this point, but it's just such a powerful legendary that you can't not talk about it when you're talking about the best legendaries in the class. I think I even put this as like one of the best cards in Paladin, like total, when I made my best cards, or like most used cards video, right? Lord Barov is just insane. And then we have Sun Sapper Lanessa, 5 mana, 2/6, Rogue Taurus. Your spells cost 2 less, or sorry, your spells that cost 2 less cast twice. So Sun Sapper Lanessa is kind of becoming like a staple for Paladin, right? It provides a lot of mana cheat with Sea Shill, which is 3 mana, 3/2. Your next non-rogue card costs 2 less, which lets you cheat things out really early. It gives you a lot of card draw with your Nick Knack Shack. It's 3 mana, 4 durability location. Draw a card. If you played it this turn, reopen this location, which is really powerful. It has Con Man. Con Man is a crazy card. 4 mana, 4/4. Replay your last non-rogue card. So if you've played a cheated out card like Amethyst, Amethyst is the Paladin Titan. I'm not going to go through the abilities of that one. I don't even know on the top of my head. Anyway, Amethyst is really good to be replayed off of Con Man because Amethyst has its passive ability is your minions can't take more than 2 damage at a time. So if you replay it with Con Man, you can set up a lot of minions on the same turn. It's just unbelievably strong. The rogue cards in Paladin are really disgusting, and Lanessa gives you those cards. Lanessa's already just like a pretty okay card too, because it can be used as a combo piece. You have the card O Manager, which is a 2 mana, deal 2 damage, combo, gain a coin. So replay that twice, you'll get 2 coins, and then each coin gives you 2 mana, so you'll get 4 mana from 1 O Manager. So it costs 2 mana to gain 4 mana. So you can play another O Manager, then you can play a lot of like you can play a bunch of like 2 or less cost spells, and then kill your opponent. It's just really pretty good. Overall, I wouldn't say the Lanessa combo is the best part of this card. It's definitely getting those rogue cards in Paladin is the best part about this card. And with the upcoming expansion, where we have the C6 Expanse, cycling through your deck and discounting your cards is going to be a really big deal because you're going to be dealing, Holy Wrath to deal 100 damage to your opponent. And playing Sea Shill allows you to discount your Holy Wrath plus Order in the Court combo so that instead of costing 7 mana, it costs 5 mana, which is going to be a huge deal because there is a world where you kill your opponent on turn 4 with that combo, and it's really, really good. I am looking forward to playing it, and it looks really strong. Then we have Priest. So again, Priest is a weird class due to a lot of Priest decks not running that many legendaries. Miracle Priest typically runs like 0 Priest legendaries, which is, crazy, right? It doesn't really run any Priest legendaries. Shadow Priest only really runs Benedictus, right? And Dark Bishop Benedictus is a really good card. 5 mana, 5/6, start a game if your spells in your deck are all Shadow, enter Shadow form, so it makes your hero power deal 2 damage instead of healing 2. So it is really good, right? It's great in Reno Priest, great in Shadow Priest, because, well, it's better than heal. Lesser heal is the worst hero power in the game. It just is. So upgrading your hero power is very strong. It lets you deal a lot of damage. It lets you fight for board more efficiently. It's just really good. So again, just like Paladin, a lot of the Priest decks that are playable don't run that many legendaries, but the Priest deck that does run a lot of legendaries is Reno Priest. And I mean, the best legendaries in Reno Priest are Raza. That's your win the game cards. 5 mana. They're both 5 mana 5/5s. First Raza the Chained is Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, your hero power costs 0 this game, which synergizes incredibly well, of course, with Shadow form. Lets you deal 2 damage and ping your opponent for free, right? Every single turn. Then you have Raza the Resealed, which is Battlecry. For the rest of the game, your hero power refreshes whenever you play a card. So you have a 0 mana hero power that pings your opponent, and every single time you play a card, you can ping again. Unbelievable value. Like, unreal levels of value from Raza the Resealed. It's such an unbelievably powerful card, and like both of the Razas together. And it's no surprise that Reno Priest is one of the most popular decks ever. Reno Priest is such a popular deck for a pretty obvious reason. Chinese players absolutely love it. They love ping pong, they love pinging. It just makes sense. That was such a bad joke. I'm sorry. But I like Reno Priest. People like Reno Priest. It's just fun to play. You can play it very tempo oriented, and it's still like a late game value deck that can kill your opponent with, infinite pings. So it's It's such a fan favorite deck, and it really does make sense. Like when you Raza the Chained was so unbelievably powerful when it was in Standard. Like for the first year it was in Standard, wasn't that good, right? But then you had Anduin, Shadow Reaper Anduin come out, which gave you a hero power that does damage and refreshes. So it's like a combination between Benedictus and Raza the Resealed.
8 mana though, and you know, Benedictus is passive, but still.
So when Anduin came out, Raza became like one of the best legendaries in the entire game. It was so powerful that they nerfed it preemptively because they were afraid it would be too strong and wild. And it was nerfed for like 3 or 4 years. And then it was unnerfed, and instantly Reno Priest was the best deck in the entire game. Instantly when Raza was reverted. Which already says like, hey, how broken would Raza have been if it rotated into wild like this? Crazy. Crazy card. It's Shadow of Demise. Look, Rogue has a lot of iconic legendaries. It really does. But there is no Rogue legendary that should be played in every single deck like Shadow of Demise. I think Shadow of Demise might have a genuine argument to be the best legendary in the entire game. I think that there are very few decks in any class that wouldn't want to run Shadow of Demise. It is a no mana spell, has no mana. I mean, that's not why it's broken. Each time you cast a spell, transform this into a copy of it. So it gives you a third copy of any spell in your deck. Which is already insane in Rogue because you have stuff like Preparation, right? Or, you know, Gear Shift, or just a lot of card draw. But imagine this in other decks, right? Like, say you're playing Mage and you play Mana Biscuit. Well, this can turn into a 0 mana, gain 2 mana, or refresh 2 mana card in Mage, which would be crazy. It's also a Shadow Spell, which would, I guess, doesn't matter because it won't stay as Shadow Spell, but still. What else would love this? Shaman would love getting more flash of lightnings from like Shadow of Demise, or more light. I guess another lightning bolt actually would be more realistic. Hunter would love to use this to get. I mean, it's just like a copy of all their good spells, right? Like tracking or bird watching or stuff like that. I genuinely am like struggling to think of a single class in the game that wouldn't like to run Shadow of Demise, or like a single deck in the game. Maybe Reno Priest. Maybe Reno Priest, right? Because Reno Priest spells, they're good, but they're only kind of like good enough to be played once a game. It's kind of how it feels. However, it is still a shadow spell, so you can run it in Reno Priest. I didn't even think about that at first. So there is a world that you would, you probably still would run this Reno Priest, actually. I'm lying. I don't know. I think that Shadow of Demise might genuinely be like, it's definitely the best spell in the entire game. There's no question about that. It is the best spell in the entire game, right? Is it the best legendary in the entire game? Maybe. It is definitely the best rogue legendary. Like, that's not a question. But you could make an argument that something like maybe like fully reverted Ziliax is the best legendary. Maybe you could say that Patches is the best legendary. I do think that Shadow of Demise really has to be in the conversation for best legendary card, though. Like, I don't think anything else really comes close. And like what could come close, right? It's a third copy of any spell. It's another copy of the coin, which actually has mattered. If you've played Miracle Rogue, you know that using Shadow of Demise as the coin actually is really strong. So, like, I'm genuinely just struggling to think of a single deck that wouldn't want to run this if they could. I'm being so honest with you. I really am being like that. Like, the only rogue deck I can think of that wouldn't run this is, like, I don't even know, because Pirate Rogue was running this, right? Like, Garrote Rogue, Garrote Pirate Rogue, a full-on fucking aggro deck, and, you know, that had, like, I guess a combo, but it was still an aggro deck, was running Shadow of Demise, so it's like, dude, this might just, I don't know, I think I'm not making a bold claim by saying Shadow of Demise is the best legendary in the game. I think I'm not making a bold claim from that, actually. I think that no class in the entire game would not run Shadow of Demise if they had it as an option. I think that that's, like, a fair assessment because of just how unbelievably flexible and powerful this card is. It's not even like it's anything crazy. It's just the most flexible card in the entire game, and I just do not think any class would not run it. Really. Like, I'm being so for real right now. Then we have Shaman. So, how do I put this? Shaman has, like, a gigantic pool of decks that play, or that there are, right? Evolve Shaman used to be really good. Even Shaman. Big Shaman is really good right now. Reno Shaman's good right now. Spell damage Shaman, like Nature Shamans, those exist. But the thing is that, like, Evolve Shaman doesn't really run that many legendaries, let alone Shaman legendaries. Even Shaman literally only runs like one Shaman legendary, and that's the Stone Right. Nature Shaman, Frog Shaman doesn't run any legendaries. Big Shaman literally only runs Glug, and I would be lying to say that Glug is better than any of these 4 legendaries I've shown on here. So I don't feel comfortable putting it there. So it kind of comes down to, well, Reno decks make the most use out of like legendaries, and it kind of just happens that way, right? Where a lot of the time when you're talking about the best legendaries for a class, you're going to be talking about Reno decks, so I kind of have to keep talking about it. I will talk about the Stone Right first. It is a 4-mana 5/4 battlecry for the rest of the game. Your totems have +2 attack. So every time you hero power, every time you summon a totem in any way, it'll just get +2 attack, and that's really good. The Stone Right is like... The Stone Right instantly made, like, Even Shaman, like, way better. It used to be, like... I mean, Even Shaman used to be broken, and the Stone Right was, like, one of the main reasons for that. It's just such a powerful card. Like... People have even run, like, bad cards just to make use of the Stone Right with it. Like, Totally Totemics was the 4-mana spell, overload 1, summon all 5 like basic totems. And people are like, oh, but with the Stone Right, it's 4-mana 10/10 in stats. I'm like, yeah, I guess it's not 10/10, actually. It's 11/9, I think. Yeah, and it's not that great, but... I mean, the Stone Right is just such a powerful legendary, and it really does hard carry even Shaman. We have Bolner Hammerbeak. It's a 2-mana 1/4. After you play a Battlecry minion, repeat the first Battlecry you played this turn. This card's fucking crazy. It's 2-mana Bran if you just play it with one other minion. But if you play it with a lot of other Battlecries, you can repeat like really powerful Battlecries with super cheap minions that also have their own Battlecries go off. Bolner is so powerful. It saw a lot of play in Standard when it was in there. It's really good in Wild currently. And Bolner plus the new card Murmur is really gross because, well, your Battlecry card minions cost 1. So they'll be played with Bolner, so you can play a lot of them. So Murmur, this card is crazy, dude. It's a 6-mana 6/6 elemental. Your Battlecry minions cost 1, but immediately die after being played. This is a new card, so technically I don't know if it's going to be broken, but like just like the other new cards that are going to be in this video, but come on. Come the fuck on, dude. It makes your Battlecry cards cost 0 with Parrot Sanctuary because, well, obviously we need more mana. We need such disgusting mana cheat in this game, right? So you can play Murmur plus Bolner and then play... That's 8 mana, so then you can play 5 Battlecry minions that cost any amount of mana. So if you play Bolner and then like Astalor and then play... So you play Bolner, Astalor, have Parrot Sanctuary in play, trigger it, then you can play 5 Battlecry minions that all repeat Astalor, deal 14 damage to the random enemy, or to random enemies, or split amongst random enemies. Wow, that's going to be really disgusting. It's just a second Shudderwalk is effectively what Murmur is. And we all know that Shudderwalk is really strong, but is still not that great of a card because it's so expensive. Murmur's cheaper than Shudderwalk. So you can use Murmur to get all your Battlecries out that you want to replay with Shudderwalk. Murmur also is really good playing for tempo because you can play... Parrot Sanctuary, like I said, with Murmur, and then play stuff like Loatheb plus Boom Pistol Bully, and then your opponent's cards cost 5 more next turn. So you just time warp your opponent and get effectively you just made your opponent have to pass their turn, which is really strong. Murmur is also a 6/6 and an elemental, so it's easy to discount and tutor, and because it has a decent body, it's not going to die very often. It's just really good. I'm going to be so real with you. And then lastly, of course, we have Shudderwalk. 9 mana, 6/6, Battlecry, repeat all other Battlecries from cards you play this game, target chosen randomly. So, I mean, like, it's Shudderwalk. Shudderwalk is like your big I won the game card. If you play Shudderwalk, you're typically winning the game because, well, you'll play Reno Lone Ranger, you'll play Loatheb, you'll play Boom Pistol Bully, you'll play a bunch of damage, you'll summon a bunch of minions, you'll draw a bunch of cards, stuff like that. So then your opponent's like, okay, well, that big Shudderwalk turn kind of just ended the game, and I can't do anything because I can only play 1 minion, and all my cards cost 5 more. Yeah, that's why Shudderwalk's a good card, if people didn't realize. You don't play Infinite Shudderwalk where you're trying to bounce it like every single turn. You just play one big turn, build a giant board, and then kill your opponent, and that's really good. It's real damn good. Shudderwalk. I don't know. Murmur is going to be so broken, dude. I really think Murmur is about to be like one of the best cards of the entire set in Wild. It's such a disgusting card. So then we have Warlock. Warlock is actually like, again, one of these scenarios where a lot of Warlock decks are just bad and have been pretty bad for years. Like, in the last 2 years, the only really playable Warlock decks have been Discard Warlock and Questline Warlock, so it's kind of hard to not talk about these cards. The Solarium. Solarium's probably one of the best Warlock legendaries ever, though. It's 1 mana, shadow spell, draw 3 cards. They are temporary, or discard them at the end of your turn. Obviously, it's amazing in Discard Warlock. It's great in the Demon Seed because, well, if you have infinite mana from Dark Glare, drawing cards is really good. If you are going to Fatigue, drawing cards is really good, stuff like that. And you don't really care about discarding sometimes, right? So it just is really strong. It's obviously really strong with discard effects. That's why I was talking about Discard Warlock. But Solarium has just been so good. It's been good for years. It came out in Boomsday, and it's been this strong. It's such a powerful card. The Demon Seed, I mean, it came back to Wild after being nerfed to 10-10-10 from like 8-8-8 or something like that. It's been nerfed like 3 times. It's still incredibly powerful. It gets support all the time. It's literally getting support this expansion, which is really fucking annoying. Heal Stone is a 0 mana spell that is your hero heals for all damage it's taken this turn. So you'll just play like your Dark Glare combo, you'll take 30 damage, and then you'll just play Heal Stone and go back to full health. I don't think Heal Stone is that good of a card, but it's still annoying that it was printed. But the Demon Seed is just, I mean, it's just the Warlock card, right? There hasn't been a card in Warlock, or probably, I mean, I think almost no class has a card as iconic as the Demon Seed. Obviously, there are some cards, right? Like Ice Block, or like Shadow Step, or stuff like that. But this is the Warlock version of those cards. It's such an iconic, powerful card. Sees play in basically every Warlock deck, because only Demon Seed Warlock is playable, right? Discard Warlock is okay. You can kind of make it work, but it's not great right now. But Demon Seed Warlock is like the only playable Warlock deck in Wild, so it's obviously super iconic, and it's obviously, well, carried by this legendary. I mean, Dark Glare is the best card in the deck, but you still run the Demon Seed, because obviously. So, I know this one isn't very interesting. It's not like I'm talking about some legendaries that are like, oh, maybe you couldn't have guessed, but like, I feel like Warlock is so obvious. It was so obviously these 2 cards, nothing else even comes close. And then Warrior. So, we've been through this song and dance a billion times already. Skipper decks don't really run any legendaries. Reno Warrior runs a lot of legendaries. We obviously have to talk about Reno Warrior because it's good enough to see play. So, I want to start with Ham the Hungry. It is the Druid Tourist, 6 mana, 3/3, taunt at the end of your turn, eat an enemy minion, or eat a minion enemy's deck to gain +2/+2. Ham the Hungry is kind of mid overall. The thing is you get New Horizons. It's a 3 mana epic spell. Gain 1 empty mana crystal, set your max mana to 13. Yeah. We gave Hunter Warlock, yeah. We give Warrior ramp. It's not built around having ramp, so it's obviously absurdly powerful with ramp. I mean, Ham the Hungry itself is a pretty mediocre card, but the fact that you are getting New Horizons is just disgusting. It just is truly disgusting. We have Deep Miner Brand, which is 8 mana, 2/4, Battlecry for your deck started with no duplicates. Battlecry, I can't talk. Your Battlecries trigger twice for the rest of the game. Deep Miner Brand is really powerful. It used to be 6 mana, and it was, like, absurd. It's really good in Wild. Kind of not because the card itself is that good. It only became really strong when Perils in Paradise rolled around with Marin the Manager, because Marin the Manager gives you so much value. So much. You get Wondrous Wand, which was 3 mana, draw 3 cards. They cost 0, but now it's 3 mana, draw 3 cards. They cost 3 less. But you get 2 wands from playing it after Deep Miner Brand. You have like a lot of value just from being able to play like 0 cost cards, and that's how you would typically win the game. But after the nerf, I mean, it's still good, don't get me wrong, but Brand has definitely like become significantly worse after Marin was nerfed, because, well, if Marin is worse, doubling its Battlecry also gets worse. You have Odin Prime Designate. It is 9 mana, but the fucking website has never updated it, so it still says 8, even though it's been like that for like months and months, right? So I just don't care enough to go make a new card to make it work. Anyway, it's 9 mana, 8/8, Battlecry for the rest of the game. After your hero gains armor, they gain that much attack for that turn. This is the warrior win condition. This is the warrior win condition we've been waiting for forever, right? You know, Shaman got Shudderwalk all the way back in Witchwood. Druid had like Aviana Kun, Aviana ENR forever, right? So like these like late game classes have had these win conditions, but Hunter really has never had it, even though it's so good at getting to late game because of all the armor and the removal. But now we have Odin, and I mean, if you know anything about Hearthstone the last like year and a half, You know how powerful Odin is. It's just such a good card. It gives you so much damage. It lets you actually win the game because of how much damage it provides. And that's really, really good. Exarch Akama, I mean, this card's probably not good enough for Wild. However, I just want to talk about it because it looks so fun. It just looks like a really awesome card. It's probably going to be really good in Standard. It's 5 mana, 3/6 Draenei. After this attacks, all other friendly minions can attack again except Akama. So what that means is, like, if they don't have summoning sickness, so like they've been on board for 1 turn or technically have charge, if Akama attacks, they can attack again, so they effectively have Wind Fury, and that's really fun. It's gonna be really, really, really fun. There's ways to make Akama attack. Like, there's a 3-drop that makes Akama attack, or makes your next Draenei attack when it's played, so Akama can, you know, attack. You can give it Rush to make it attack, or you can do both, so it can attack twice in 1 turn. It's gonna be so freaking awesome, dude. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me, think down below. Did I miss any legendaries? Do you think that some legendaries should have been here instead of others? Do you think any on here shouldn't have been on here? I'd like to hear it. I think that I'm not crazy for thinking that Shadow of Demise is the best legendary in the game. Like, I've been thinking this for a while, that it probably is one of the best, but really today I'm on big team Shadow of Demise, right? I think it might be the best card ever, or best legendary ever. Anyway, I'm hosting 2 giveaways for the Great Dark Beyond. This is probably going to be the last one. I know it says November 1st, but I'm probably not going to do it. And no, I'll just continue it through the end of the month. I don't really care that much. Anyway, I have 2 giveaways. All you have to do to enter is subscribe to my channel, like the video, and comment below any video that has a giveaway on it, your favorite card of the expansion, because they're all out now. And to join the other one, all you have to do is become a member of my channel. It's super simple. It's similar to a Twitch subscription. The lowest tier is 99 cents, so I'm not doing it for money. I just want to have a bunch of members because, well, the more members I have, I can add more emotes, and adding more emotes is really fun. It's a nice way to give back to my community, and I just enjoy doing it because it's really fun. That's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Shadows are rising again!
Darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do.